On Monday, February 13th, 2017, at approximately 1 o'clock p.m., 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German were dropped off by Libby's sister near an abandoned rail bridge in Delphi, Indiana. The two young teenagers were just going to walk around and hang out. They were scheduled to be picked up at 3:15 by Libby's father, but the girls never showed up. The family began to search and then called police. At approximately 12:15 p.m. on the next day, February 14th, the bodies of the two girls were found in a wooded area near the Delphi Historic Trail, approximately 1/2 mile upstream from the bridge. During the course of the investigation, police released this short video of the suspect, recorded on Libby's phone. That man has never been identified, and no one has been charged with the murders. But now, 5 years later, a warrant has been uncovered which may reveal a lot more information about exactly who police believe may be responsible. Tonight, we take an in-depth look at this new information. Does it solve the Delphi murders of Abby Williams and Libby German? I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here for Closing Arguments. And tonight we are taking a deep dive into the Delphi murders. And as I sit here tonight, I am still surprised, somewhat shocked that 5 years later, this case has not been solved. But new information we're going to take a look at tonight may open some eyes about what really happened to Abby and Libby. Now, let's begin with what I think is at the heart of all of this, which are police in this case. And police are in charge of this investigation. And generally, you know, folks like you and I in the true crime world, we like to believe in and trust our police, and they have a job to do. Their job is simple but not easy, right? Arrest the bad guys. That's what they have to do. Figure out who it is that committed the crime. In this case, we're talking about the murder of two young teenage girls. And that's their mission. And whatever it takes to get that done, that's what they will do. Now, in this story, in this investigation, in this case, there's another party that is very involved and invested in all of this, and that's the media. The media absolutely invested in this case, and the job of the media always is to get the story, right? Get the story. Find out what the story is. And in this case, the story is, who are these young girls? What happened to them? And finally, who is responsible? And you and I both know that in the world of true crime, you know, investigators are doing their job. The media, when I say media, I mean, you know, guys like me, folks like Judge Ashely here on Court TV, podcasters, writers, anyone, all members of the media, all trying to get that story. But we don't have the whole story here. And police have not gotten the bad guy yet, which gets me to the relationship between the police and media. You know, we're sometimes great friends. Sometimes we're enemies. And sometimes it's like the media gets angry at investigators for whatever reason. You're not giving us the information. You're not answering the questions. Sometimes investigators get angry with us because we're asking too many questions or releasing information that is impeding their investigation. So there's a friction there. And a lot of times that friction plays out early on in an investigation, right? When police are first investigating the case, and you know how critical those first 48 hours are. But then when the case gets a little bit older, you know, sometimes you think about, well, what's going on here? Why hasn't this case been solved? And many times, that's when the media kind of dives in a little deeper, gets a little more aggressive. And sometimes you see that ends up resulting in new information uncovered, eyes opened, and sometimes people get arrested. Let's talk about the story that we're talking about tonight. It's about two young girls, Abby and Libby. They're two good friends. But it's been 5 long years now, and we don't have an answer as to what happened and how they were murdered and who is responsible. So take a look. We have some video, some images of Abby and Libby. Again, I said, great friends, did things together, just normal teenage girls. But on February 13th, 2017, they went walking on a trail dropped off by Libby's sister near the Monon High Bridge in the town of Delphi, Indiana on the 13th. They were supposed to be picked up by Libby's dad around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They didn't show up. The family knew something was wrong. They were searching. They called police in. And then, unfortunately, the next day around noon, their bodies were discovered. Now, during the course of this investigation, police have held all their information very close, very tight, not releasing things, releasing little tiny slivers of information. One of those little slivers is a video of the suspect. Let's take a look at that cell phone video. Libby actually recorded this on her cell phone. And we've been looking at this video for a couple of years, a few years now, wondering who is this guy? And how is it that we have not been able to identify him? Someone who knows him, I would think, would be able to recognize him. Delphi, not a big town, folks. Not a big town whatsoever. Then, after they released the video, they released a little piece of audio to see if anyone would recognize the voice. Let's take a listen. Down the hill. Down the hill. That's where they ended up going. That's where they were found, down the hill. Then there were some sketches released as well. Well, and I always wondered about this. Why are we releasing sketches if we've got an actual video? I didn't understand that. But there were 2 separate sketches that looked nothing alike that were released. And I asked Abby's mom about it. Take a listen.
Says Indiana State Police noted when they produced the second set that, well, they felt like the first one was important, so was the second, and that we need to spend as much time focusing on the second one as we did the first one for obvious reasons. We felt like we knew who the first person in the sketch was, and now it was time to focus on the other person that we didn't know who was out there that day. So I believe they noted that, and that's what we've been told, and that's what we need to press forward with.
So a lot of confusion in this case. There's been a lot because little pieces of information, not a lot of explanation, but I understand. We're the media. We want the answers. We want to get the story. Investigators want to solve the case. And they're holding back things for investigative purposes. Okay? But it's been 5 years. That's where we are. Let me bring in my guests joining me tonight, if I can. Joining me in studio, Court TV anchor Ashely Willcott, who has spent time in Delphi. Thanks so much, Judge. Great to see you. Also with us, a couple of podcasters joining us tonight in Indianapolis, Indiana. Podcasters of the Murder Street podcast, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee are with us. We just can't put them up on the screen yet, but we'll get to them in just a second. Let me begin with you, Judge.
Thanks for having me.
Great to see you in person. You were there. Tell me about your trip to Delphi, what you saw, what sort of struck you about the case.
Listen, Vinny, 3 years after they disappeared, still no answers in spite of the video, the pictures, the sketches, the audio that you referenced. So we went to Delphi, and I'm going to say this, a quaint, beautiful place. It was beginning of March 2020, so it was cold, but it was a beautiful blue sky. It was sunny. This is a picture. Now, you cross the big bridge, the Monon Bridge that you referenced, and as soon as you cross the bridge, the trailhead starts. And this are people that I was with walking the trailhead exactly where these girls walked. This is what it looked like if you look down to the right. Beautiful, beautiful, but what do you not see in these pictures? People. And everyone I spoke to said before this happened, there were people, Vinny, even on cold days. If the sun was out, the people were out. When we were there, noon, people might be out on lunch, nobody was walking. Nobody. It was eerie. It was quiet. It was not what people said it was like before these 2 girls were murdered. It was creepy. It was creepy, and we walked and it was quiet. You could hear everything. There was no traffic on the interstate. There was no one in the woods. The further you walked, the quieter it got. And you look around, in that time of year, it's the same time of year as when they were murdered. No leaves on the trees. Pretty barren, so you could see all the way down the hill like that picture just showed. You could see forever in front of you because it wasn't as if the trees were covered with leaves like they would be at a different time of year. So all I could think were two things. Number one, this has affected this community to an extent that they don't even use a beautiful park because of what happened there in the tragedy. But number two, Vinny, how did someone not see something? Look at what the picture just looked like. How did someone not see or hear these girls disappear and get killed?
Yeah, especially if there's other folks there. And you, as you referenced, at that time, it was much more popular. It was February, maybe it was a little bit colder on that particular day, on the 13th. Are you shocked that we're here in 2022 now and still no one has been held responsible?
Absolutely. I was shocked 3 years ago. It's why I went on my own dime to this place, because I couldn't believe it. And then you saw a little picture of a memorial, and that's where, if we walk down the path that there was the picture of, you get to where two paths merge, and right at that corner, before you get to the bridge that this audio was taken on, or the video rather, that's where that memorial was. And there's a picture of the map and exactly where you can follow the trail. And Vinny, how can this not be solved? How can this not be solved? I thought this 3 years ago. Are you kidding me? How many times do you have a teenager murdered who must think, I'm in trouble, this is a bad guy, I better make sure my phone's on and get a video and an audio, and we still haven't caught them?
And we haven't. Well, let's get to the bottom of what we do know tonight, and a lot has to do with our two guests joining us now in Indianapolis. Podcasters from Murder Street, incredible podcast. Make sure you check it out. Every detail, every bit of information in this case is in that podcast. Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane, great to see you again tonight. Let me start here. You've uncovered this new warrant. Tell me in general how you got or maybe you can't reveal how you got your hands on the warrant, but you got the warrant. Where's this warrant? Is this warrant an FBI warrant?
Yes. Thanks so much for having us on. This is a warrant that was written up by an FBI agent out of the area around Chicago. And we can't talk about how we got it, but basically it's new information to the public, but it's actually quite an old warrant. This was written up in March of 2017, so a month after the murders.
Let me put up on the screen a little bit from this. And again, we've got with us Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee from the Murder Sheet podcast. This is what they got. And it says on it that LG and AW were found dead with wounds caused by a blank weapon on the property owned by Ronald Logan. The location of the crime scene is approximately 1,400 feet from Logan's residence. Now, tell me a little bit about that. The location of the crime scene versus where Ronald Logan lives. Like, how would you get from Logan's house to where this all is?
The bodies were found basically about 1,400 feet from his back door. And of course, if you have a couple of dead bodies found on your property, the police are going to get interested. And so they were interested in Logan. And there were a couple of other reasons why they were interested in him at that time, including the fact that he had a history of committing domestic violence against his adult female partners, and also that during the time of the murders, he actually lied about his whereabouts.
Oh, that's a little bit of a problem, slight problem there on that one. Let me put up on the screen some more information we have from what you uncovered here. You've got, it also appeared that the girls' bodies were moved and staged. There was no visible signs of a struggle or a fight. And then that final one, to me, this is the one that's got my head exploding tonight. On March 12, 2017, blank explained in an interview to law enforcement that Logan called him on the morning of February 14th, 2017, and asked him to provide the alibi for Logan's drive to the aquarium in Lafayette. This phone call was made prior to law enforcement's discovery of Libby and Abby's deceased bodies. Am I reading this right? that according to this warrant, he's calling someone for an alibi before anyone knows there's a murder.
That's correct. One thing that's interesting about Mr. Logan is that he was on probation at the time of the murders. So he was not supposed to be driving, and he was that day. So it's one of those things. It's certainly and rightfully attracted the interest of law enforcement at the time. But there's also an alternate explanation that he possibly was trying to get out of something or get ahead of something without necessarily being aware of how serious this situation was involving these two girls.
Okay, let me ask the judge. Judge, someone, all right, and he may be asking for an alibi for driving because I'm not supposed to drive because my license is suspended and I'm on probation. I don't want to get in trouble. But do you call someone up like the day after you drive? Like you haven't been, wait, let me ask, was he caught driving? Did anyone say you were out driving? Did someone catch him driving? Is that what happened here?
They basically asked him, I believe, what were you doing this afternoon? And he was driving. So I think it was either admit to a probation violation or lie and get someone to back you up.
But what's the timing of it? He's not questioned about driving until after the bodies are discovered, right?
Well, on the day the girls went missing, pretty much everyone in the area was asked, where were you this afternoon? Did you see anything? Okay. And so he was, so you certainly asked basic questions like that.
Okay, so he's asked basic questions. All right, let me bounce this off the judge. Judge, what do you think? If you're illegally driving a car that's suspended, could get in trouble, right? Judge could throw you in the can for that, violating your probation. Does that make sense, that he's getting the alibi?
I don't think it passes the smell test, Vinny. It doesn't seem like that would be the reason that a person gets an alibi. If they choose to drive while they're on probation, they choose to drive. Okay, I was driving, better get an alibi. To me, doesn't carry enough weight. I don't believe it.
Yeah, but there's always a little explanation, right? Okay, Kevin, Anya are staying with us throughout the hour here. Judge Ashely, working late for us tonight, coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it. Great
Happy
to
be here.
Great to see you. All right, when we come back, we've got much more to get through here. Wow, how about the man who called up for the fake alibi? What does he look like? And does he look like the person in the video? Is there any similarity between the two? Like, do they have similar jackets or hats or anything? I don't know. We'll take a look when we come back.
Officially licensed everything.
Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
Welcome back. The probable cause warrant that was obtained and released by the Murder Sheet podcast specifically states that Ronald Logan is physically similar to that suspect we just saw in the cell phone video taken by Libby German. That's how the document reads. Logan's physical build is consistent with that of the male suspect videoed by Libby on the Monon High Bridge. And it also states that Logan's voice is not inconsistent with that of the person in the video. Interesting. Ronald Logan spoke with a reporter from Indianapolis news station WTHR the day after the bodies of Abby and Libby were discovered in 2017. And take a look at his appearance. I mean, tan hat, blue windbreaker. Let's watch some of what he told WTHR back in February of 2017.
Who would have thought they'd let their children out to do something special that day, take a trip down, and then turn out with a disaster like this? The area that they were in is very hard to get to. I mean, you can't get there unless you walk there. I mean, so somebody would be walking with them or something.
Wow. Let's bring our guest back in. Joining us tonight in Winchester, Virginia, body language expert Dr. Stephen Langston. In Salt Lake City, Utah, private investigator Jason Jensen. And still with us in Indianapolis, Indiana, the co-podcasters of Murder Sheet. Again, folks, check it out. It's got everything. Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee still with us. Stephen Langston, want to ask you first, as we took a look at Ronald Logan in that interview with the news, local news comes around, microphone. Anything strike you about what he said or how he said it?
There's two things that really stand out in that particular cut. You see his shoulders are constantly doing this shrugging motion here, which is could be, could not be, I'm not really sure, but he's saying some very definitive things about how it's not possible, but he keeps doing this. You can't unsee that whenever a person's talking about, they're really uncertain about what they're trying to say, that shoulder shrug kicks into play. But really, I focus in on his mouth there. He is showing some signs of disgust. You can see the corner of his mouth pulling down. It's hidden by his glasses. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you could see some of that scrunching of his nose, but he has this real just kind of I'm sick to my stomach, or I'm disgusted with either what's happening, what I'm saying. Of course, we don't know what's going on in his mind by any means, but he's definitely showing some very serious signs of disgust as he's talking through this part.
Jason Jensen, private investigator. I know you've been taking a very close look at this case. Your thoughts about Ronald Logan and the video that we see, Ronald Logan, what he looks like, it's his property, and you've got investigators here saying there are consistencies in his general build and the build of the person in the video.
Well, yes, exactly, Vinny. Where the FBI agent says there's consistency with this build, we can go on a step further and say that the actual jacket that he's worn 2 days later during the interview is very similar, if not the exact jacket, and that ball cap has even the same dimples across the top, that if you didn't know better, you'd say that this is indeed this individual being video recorded, but law enforcement hasn't come out and said that. They've just said this is the suspect, but looking the two, comparing the two side by side, it looks like the exact same person. You just don't have the visual clarity with the Snapchat video that you have with the reporter recording.
Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee, your thoughts and what have you uncovered about Ronald Logan, the way he looks, his physical attributes, right? We're looking for this guy in the video. Are there things that you've noticed or picked up that are either consistent or inconsistent with that being a match?
One thing we can say is that some of his people who knew him basically said to law enforcement in the warrant that they felt that the bridge guy, so to speak, looked like Ron Logan. So there was some feeling among people who knew him that it could be him.
So people who actually, and this is what I've been saying all along. I'm like, I look at that video, and if someone knows that person, I think they would recognize him. Do we know if those folks came forward voluntarily, like early on, once the video's released, saying, hey, did they pick up the phone and say, hey, that could be Ronald Logan?
In the probable cause affidavit that the FBI agent wrote to secure the warrant, she specifically says that there were 15 tips from the public, people who came forward with information that they believe connected Logan to the murders.
Wow. So here we are, Jason Jensen. Again, in 5 years, and again, investigators not. And I understand, I'm a former prosecutor. I know what it takes to prove a case beyond any and all reasonable doubt. But I'm seeing circumstances here, Jason. Someone looking to make up an alibi, looking for a fake alibi. Yeah, he's got another argument for it. But then it's his property, 1,400 feet from his backyard. 1,400 feet from his backyard. Don't we look at like the closest people first, Jason?
Yes, they always do. They always look to see who was either in close proximity to the victims and the crime scene, as well as relatives or somebody that may have a motive to cause this, a death of somebody. But here, we got, under the totality of the circumstances, a lot of different things that come together and portray a picture that Ronald Logan is likely the murderer here.
Let me ask you, Anya, the video that they released, is there, I presume there's a much longer video and they've just released a little piece of it. What do we know about that? And what do we know about the way the man on the bridge is walking? So many people have talked about that through the years. Is it an optical illusion because it's a short video that we're looping? Or is there something to the way he walks?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that it is a longer recording that they have from Libby's phone. It's about 53 seconds long. And the conversation, the guys down the hill, happens at the end of that video. So in terms of how he's moving, people have speculated that a lot. Some people think he looks like he's limping. Others look like it's a unusual gait, perhaps. One thing that if you've actually been to the site, it's a terrifying bridge. Basically, it looks like it would be difficult to walk on. It's very spaced out. It's very high up. It looks like it's rotting. And so I've always wondered if this was a person who was unaccustomed to being up there and maybe just a little bit nervous. I will note that Mr. Logan was in his 70s at the time of the murders. So that has made some people wonder, is a man in his 70s going to be able to just kind of casually stroll across this with such ease?
Stephen Langston, do you see anything in the way he's moving his body? Does that tell you anything? It's just a short piece of that video as we take a look at the bridge here.
You definitely can see him looking down. Now, whether or not that is trying to hide the face or he is looking, you look at the picture there with that separation between the rails, it is a treacherous thing. It could be a gate. But having his head down, hands in his pockets, it was also cold. There's lots of things there that could be. Very circumstantial, though. Walking across that bridge, I'd probably have my eyes pointed down, too, wanting to know what I was going on.
Yeah, and by the way, I would never myself walk across that bridge. Stephen Langston, appreciate your insight tonight. Joining us tonight in Virginia. Great to see you again. Anya, Kevin, Jason Jensen, all staying with us. When we come back, let's talk about what police are saying. Investigators, right? I mean, they are saying some things, but how does it line up in the timeline of everything that we know at this point? That's next.
1085 now.
I believe that while I'm the superintendent of state police, we'll identify this individual.
That's within 2 years, sir.
3.
3 years. 3 years.
2 years and 11 months.
They didn't want to push you out.
Yeah.
So you think within 3 years something will develop?
It could be today.
That was Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter speaking to WRTV's Rafael Sanchez. That was February of this year. Now, Carter appeared on several TV programs around that time as February marked 5 years since Abby and Libby were killed. In an interview with Good Morning America, Carter spoke directly to the killer.
My resolve to catch him is as strong now as it was day one. But the difference now between now and day one is we know about you, a lot about you. Today could be the day. Sleep well.
All right, let's bring back in our guest. Joining us now in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse, and still with us, private investigator Jason Jensen, and podcasters of the Murder Sheet podcast, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, still with us. Timeline, February this year when the superintendent's speaking, Kevin, Ronald Logan, the man we've been talking about tonight, has passed away. At the time he spoke in February, was Ronald Logan alive?
At the time the superintendent spoke in February, Ronald Logan had already passed away. And that's an interesting point to make because during the course of that interview, Superintendent Carter made it clear that he thought that the person responsible for these crimes was still alive. And certainly behind the scenes, we hear from police that they are more interested in the Klein angle than in the Ronald Logan angle.
It's fascinating, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Erica Morse, great to see you. We've been talking a lot about what Murder Sheet uncovered, the warrant from the FBI. We looked at this guy, Ronald Logan, kind of got the build. It's his property. He's asking someone to give him an alibi before the bodies are discovered. What are your thoughts about Ronald Logan and police seemingly not interested or not believing that he's connected here?
Hey, Vinny, my thoughts are he makes great reasonable doubt. So they need to firm this up, and they need to firm this up quickly. Whenever I'm looking at a case, I always look at it from the standpoint of a defense attorney and where there are gaps and, where there are holes. And what we don't want is for one of those gaps or one of those holes to be what catches us up in a trial. We want to make sure that we are doing our jobs and filling those holes. And this thing about Ronald Logan, first of all, to the murder sheet, you guys are relentless, and kudos to you, because every case deserves relentless. And thank you for uncovering this amongst all the other earlier stuff that you've uncovered. But, man, 15 calls to the tip line. I had that noted as well. That cannot be ignored. Roll this in or roll this out and move on.
Yeah, I'm a former prosecutor. You know that, Erica. Ronald, if they arrest someone else, Ronald Logan is the reasonable doubt in that case. He becomes what the case is all about from the defense perspective, obviously. Let's take a listen to here. This is Sergeant Jeremy Pierce from the Indiana State Police talking about now that other twist that has me more confused than anything in this case. It all has to do with the guy named Anthony Schatz.
While investigating the murders of Abigail Williams and Libby German, detectives with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and the Indiana State Police have uncovered an online profile named Anthony Schatz. This profile was being used from 2016 to 2017 on social media applications, including but not limited to Snapchat and Instagram. The fictitious Anthony Schatz profile used images of a known male model and portrayed himself as being extremely wealthy and owning numerous sports cars. The creator of the fictitious profile used this information while communicating with juvenile females to solicit nude images, obtain their address, and attempt to meet with them. Detectives are seeking information about the person who created the Anthony Schatz profile. Investigators would like any individual who communicated, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Schatz profile to contact law enforcement.
Okay. Anya, I know you guys have uncovered information related to Anthony Schatz as well. So what is the connection, the nexus between Libby and Abby and this Anthony Schatz profile, this fake profile, not the guy that we see in the pictures, but someone else behind it? What's the connection to Abby and Libby here?
So the connection is very strong between Anthony Schatz and the girls, the victims in this case. Basically, as we understand it from the transcript, Libby German was in contact with this Anthony Schatz profile shortly before her murder, was communicating with this person who she thought was a boy closer to her age. And in fact, according to the detectives, during the interrogation of Kagan Klein, they said that she was actually enthralled by this person because, again, she thinks she's talking to another teenager and is just, being a typical teen online. And unfortunately, this turned out to be a predator.
Was that the reason that they went there that day? Was it to meet Anthony Schatz?
That's not clear. What we do know is that Libby was definitely interested in wanting to meet Anthony Schatz. And we know that the day after the crime, one of Libby's friends wrote to Anthony Schatz and said, "Isn't it a shame what happened to Libby?" And he wrote back, "Well, she was supposed to meet me, but she didn't show up." So those facts certainly suggest that there was a planned meeting, but we don't know that for sure. There's no actual hard, conclusive evidence of that.
Jason Jensen, so this is one of those twists in this whole case. That is there any connection between Ronald Logan and Anthony Schatz? Because that would be another place to look, right? Is there any way? Because they're saying there's other people connected to this fake social media account. Jason, have you been able to find any connection between these two?
There hasn't been any connection between Anthony Schatz and Ron Logan. Clearly, Ron Logan was the resident right there at the trail, And Anthony Schatz is a fake profile for a Keegan Klein, an individual in a nearby town of Peru, Indiana. So how is this guy related to Ron Logan is really the question that we're all looking to find.
Is there any connection, Anya?
As far as we've been able to find, no.
Okay, Erica Morse, this is, you've investigated so many cases. This is one of those situations where you're looking at, okay, this Anthony Schatz is the one. No, Ronald Logan is the one. How do you put these pieces together and have them make sense?
Well, first of all, I'm concerned that law enforcement is losing control of this narrative. The public and everything from podcasters to investigative reporters, everybody is digging into this while law enforcement remains silent. And I've worked cases just like it, and that's where there's an opportunity for a PI or a really strong advocate or podcaster to come forward and take control of this narrative and really start steering this investigation into mandating some answers. You can get the community pumped up enough where we say it's time that we get and we deserve an update. Because this has shifted. We've had 2 suspect sketches. Now we've had 4 names. And let's get this real clear. There are people in the true crime world, people who follow these podcasts, who follow these cases, who aren't exactly clear yet that Anthony Schatz is a pseudonym, not a 4th person of interest. And so as every name evolves, as every new individual evolves, this just dissects the case and spreads it out thinner from my perspective. We've talked over the last last year on this, that you have to really rule in or rule out and then move on. This just continues to be a cluster, so to speak, of additional names and additional profiles. They have to get a handle on this.
Anya and Kevin, we have about 20 seconds left here for you guys. Your thoughts about this case getting solved based on everything you know. Are we really close, or are we kind of like spinning around like we have been for 5 years?
I think that it's so important for everybody to remember that the case isn't solved yet. And, just because we have some names now and we have some people to discuss, it's really important that we keep on pressing and keep on looking for Abby and Libby's killer. This is not over yet. The police still need information. We still need to be looking for whoever did this and took these girls away from their families. So I would just stress that, nobody should make any conclusions until this is adjudicated.
The Murder Sheet podcast, amazing stuff. Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee, thank you so much for your time tonight, and we'll speak again. Hopefully you'll come back on in the future as we continue to follow the story. Jason and Eric are going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to hear what the Indiana State Police had to say today about all of this. Don't go anywhere.
See, simplified.
If you have any information, please contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, abbyandlibbytip@cacoshrf.com.
Still an active investigation, and we've been talking a lot about the Delphi murders tonight and this new information that the Murder Sheet podcast uncovered. And we invited the Indiana State Police on, and they declined. But let me read their statement to us tonight. It reads as follows. Recently, as you may already know, there's been some material released by a local podcast which was not provided to them by either the Indiana State Police nor the Delphi Double Homicide Task Force. As such, we are politely declining your request, as the integrity of this investigation must and always will come first. Now, I'd also like to read a statement from Doug Carter here. I would like to remind the public that this is an active and ongoing investigation, and we will do everything we can to protect its integrity and to not try it in the court of public opinion. We cannot publicly convict someone based on a single document which was not released by investigators. Our profession will not allow us to speak on what we think, but to always speak about what we know. This is especially important with the heinous murders of Abby and Libby. We must continue to be mindful of their surviving family members and the entire Carroll County community who are affected by this investigation. Again, that's from the Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. Still with me, private investigators Jason Jensen and Erica Morse. So as we wrap up this hour, this relationship where I started this whole thing between the media and police, how do we make this better? How do we work this relationship in this case at this point, Erica, to get to the solution that everyone wants? Because as Judge Ashely told me in the beginning here, people in that area are still scared now to go to that trail. They don't go there anymore. They used to go there all the time. They don't go there anymore.
Correct. And that happens in a lot of cases where it's a cold case and the community doesn't have answers and they feel that law enforcement isn't supporting them by providing those answers. Listen, I've been trying to figure out how to increase and better the relationship between the media and law enforcement for 30 years. It's been something I've been doing my entire career. And you and I both know that that response from ISP was double-sided. It was that, they always say they're protecting the integrity of the investigation. They're always going to throw shade or throw mud at a podcaster or reporter who uncovers something that doesn't fit with their narrative. And my only answer to that is, Vinny, you're not aware, but just in the time that we've been off for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, I've sent in two tips to the task force from viewers coming to me from your program. So what law enforcement needs to understand is that tips don't go away just because you don't communicate with the public. If you want people to back down and stop asking questions, give us something to work from. Give us something to understand. Right now, there are a lot of open questions, and there are not a lot of answers. And until we get those, people are going to try to solve this case in the court of public opinion. That's just how it is.
Jason Jensen, I'll give you the final word tonight on this case. Jason? Did he freeze?
I lost him.
He froze on us, Erica. How about that? So Erica, which one do you think is a better route here at this point? Is it?
I can.
Oh, you can hear. There you go, Jason.
Everything.
Oh, there's Jason.
There we go.
Sorry.
Your feed froze. I know
Sorry
you're a man of a lot of words. So when you weren't speaking, I got a little worried. So tell me your thoughts tonight, Jason, on how the media, police can work together here to help the public and obviously help the family get some justice and answers here.
Sure. One of the things that they can answer for us all, it was brought up to by you earlier, was the why sketches? Why are we dealing with a couple of sketches that may or may not look like the video that we already have? Why not enhance the quality of the video? Why are the sketches so significant when they have really nothing to do with the video at all? Where you even go to the reward posters today, it'll still identify that the suspect is the individual in Libby German's Snapchat video. So if that individual is the suspect, why do these sketches not look like that individual? We'd like to know. Usually a sketch comes from an eyewitness. So help us understand that, and maybe it'll bring some order for ISP's case.
Absolutely. It's a head scratcher for me, but thank you so much. Jason Jensen, Erica Morris, great to see you. We'll see you again real soon. When we come back, folks, we're going to bring in our legal think tank and talk about the next live trial here on Court TV.